There's not a direct story to tell, but much rather it's the juxtaposition of different stories. It's the way that things are sampled, ideas are taken out of context, put together by Basquiat on this construction, which make it so powerful, so vibrant, so enigmatic. I think one of the interesting things about Water Worship is the fact that it has a much stronger narrative than is typical for Basquiat's paintings. At this time in 1983, 1984, Basquiat was starting to show much more interest in his own cultural heritage with the history of West Africa, of colonialism, of the transatlantic slave trade. As a black artist in New York, in Soho in the 1980s, he was known as being one of the few black artists knowing any success at that point, and yet he had never been to Africa. So his understanding of, his appreciation of his own cultural patrimony and heritage came through his own education.
In Water Worshipper, first there is the tobacco slave ship logo on the right-hand side. Here, Basquiat has transformed the circular logo of the tobacco company Players Navy cut by replacing the white, blue-eyed sailor with an African slave rendered in brown color. The ships flanking the figure is indicative of this figure's transportation to America across the Atlantic. And the vertical bars across the figure's mouth symbolizes the suppression of his voice and rights.
And you see that here in the figure on the right-hand side of the canvas, who represents the water goddess Mami Wata, holding a snake up in the air.
It can be read that Basquiat is elevating the slave figure into a goddess.
On the left-hand side of the painting, you have another figure seemingly greeting the water goddess as she arrives on this ship, much more redolent of an Nkisi figure from Central Africa. And I think here again you see not so much the story of slavery, but rather the corollary of that, which is the spread of cultural aspects from West Africa to the United States, passed down through generations, through slavery, to young black men like Basquiat himself.
By 1984, Basquiat was an artistic supernova and his works had reached the highest complexity.
He was collaborating with Andy Warhol, and that was really the meeting of two great minds in art. Basquiat started using the silkscreen process that Warhol had pioneered in his own paintings. The construction of the work itself is quite interesting. Typically, Basquiat painted often on found objects, on doors, on window frames, on cupboards. And here the slats at the bottom of the composition give the idea of the ship itself arriving on land on the left-hand side, with the water goddess being greeted by the worshipper in this exchange of ideas between Africa and America.
Sotheby's Hong Kong is the first auction house to introduce a major Basquiat work to collectors in Asia back in 2016. Since then, his market has exploded, breaking records after records. The Asian market can't seem to get enough of Basquiat's works.
And I think today's generation of collectors, in their own rights, successful because they have been fiercely individual and made their own course. Basquiat represents that fierce individuality as an artist who didn't participate in any particular school of thought, but stands out as one of the most significant artists of the 20th century.